The story begins as we see a girl who's sad because her teddy bear was torn, and her mother thinks it's a shame since they just bought it. But she tells the girl they can just replace it. The bear is thrown away and taken to an underground facility. But we meet a boy named Rudo who sneaks into the building. As he goes through the trash, a guard pulls up on him and recognizes him as the trash raider who's been stealing garbage from the city. He activates the alarm, which alerts the other guards, but Rudo quickly throws trash at them and gets into the air ducts. He tries to escape, but the guards close the gates and they start shooting him. So he dodges their bullets as he runs away, but one of them hits his shoulder and he still manages to get away. The news about the garbage theft spreads everywhere, and the people in the city blame the slum residents, wondering why they don't stick to their side of the wall. Everyone in the slums knows that it's Rudo because it isn't the first time he's done it. Rud's friend Chi warns him that he might get into serious trouble if he doesn't stop, and she wonders why he keeps stealing trash. So he explains that the city folk keep throwing away perfectly usable items, telling her he can't help but feel sorry for them, and he adds that it also helps with his expenses. They're suddenly interrupted by three boys, and their leader tells Chi to stop hanging out with Rudo, or else she'll also smell like garbage. He makes fun of Rud's gloves because he hasn't washed them in years. As they continue to mock Rud, Chia reminds them that they all live in the slums, so they shouldn't bully him. One of the boys mentions that R is the son of a serial killer, and unlike R's father, they've been trying to create a better image for themselves. We learn that everyone in the slums is also a descendant of a criminal, and Rud tries to stay patient, but when they continue talking about his father, he becomes angry. After that, Rudo returns home, but his guardian Reto teases him because of his awkward conversation with Chi. He advises Rudo to be confident about how he feels and also tells him to stop his raids because he's putting himself at risk. Rigto explains that major crimes are punished with an instant death sentence where the criminal jumps into the pit, and we learn that Rudo's father faced the punishment. The next day, Rito convinces Rudo to talk to Chi. Rud heads to her house, but on his way, he sees everyone gathered around the pit because they're executing another criminal. He's suddenly interrupted by Chi, who catches him off guard. She tells him that she doesn't wish for him to get thrown into the pit. They both become flustered, and he gives her the teddy bear, telling her it will be happy in her company. She happily accepts it, telling him she'll cherish it forever. Rud returns home, but he sees Reg lying on the floor as a man stabs his chest. So he rushes to attack him, but he realizes that he's no match for him. And the man takes a book with him before he escapes. As he takes his last breath, the officers suddenly taser him from behind and arrest him because they think he murdered Rego. After that, everyone gathers as the executioner notes that a murderer can't be forgiven. As R was given the death sentence, everyone starts cheering and he can't understand why no one believes him. He notices Chiwa and asks her to find Rito's real murderer, but even she believes that he's guilty. So she drops the bear and turns her back on him. Rud feels all alone, and since no one believes that he's innocent, he thinks they're all just trash. He promises to send them all to hell, and he suddenly notices the real murderer standing in front of him. But before he can say anything, he gets dropped into the pit. After a while, Rudo regains consciousness, and he's surprised that he's still alive. But he suddenly smells a foul odor and covers his nose. He remembers how he was sent to the pit, and he sees a giant monster. So he realizes that they were right to call it hell. He tries to escape from the trash monster, which summons other monsters with its roar, and they surround him from all sides. The monsters rush at him, so he dodges their attacks, but he trips to the ground, and he notices a human skull. He curses the people who sent him there, but the garbage crumbles, and the monsters stop attacking him. He notices that the air is poisonous, so he covers his mouth and nose as he looks for a safe spot. He suddenly starts vomiting blood. and the monsters approach him. So he wonders if he's about to die and starts to lose hope. But the image of Regto's death comes to his mind, and it reminds him that he can't give up. So he grabs an iron pipe, thinking he must avenge Regto. The monster tries to attack him from behind, but he knocks it back and accidentally sends a can flying towards a man named Engine, who's sitting nearby. So he uses his binoculars to look around, and he sees Rudo fighting the monsters. Two monsters try to crush him, but the near-death experience awakens his hidden powers, and he destroys them with a metal sheet. Another monster appears, and Rudo is already exhausted, so he tries to run away, but it creates a strong shockwave that sends him flying. As he opens his eyes, he notices Engine, who kicks him away before placing a mask on his mouth. Rudo has a lot of questions, and Engine tells him to be silent. Engine loses his composure, and he yells at Rudo that they aren't underground, explaining that it's the fault of people on the surface for turning the pit into hell. He tells Rudo that the trash beasts can't be defeated with ordinary weapons, and they're attracted to sound. A beast approaches them, but he transforms his umbrella into a weapon. The beast attacks him, but he grinds it into pieces. Rudo was impressed that he was able to defeat them so easily. The last monster shoots acid at Engine, but he blocks the attack and uses his special Unbreaker Octashredder to destroy the beast. Rudo asks him who he is, so he removes his mask and introduces himself as a cleaner. While Rudo collapses from exhaustion, we go back to Rudd's childhood, where he was bullied by other kids for saying objects are alive, because Regto taught him that when an object is treated with care, a soul will inhabit it. We return to the present as Rudo wakes up and finds himself chained. He tells Engine to free him, but Engine just drags him away. Rudo wants to climb back to the upper world called the Sphere because he wants to get revenge, but Reg tells him that it's impossible to return. Engine leaves him near a strange establishment with two trucks, and a group of masked men notice him, realizing he's from the Sphere. They think they can sell him for a high price. The leader notices that Rudo is too thin, so he forces him to eat their trash food, but Rudo bites the flesh off his fingers. He once again taps into his hidden powers, which he uses to break free. He remembers how Regto told him that treating objects with care makes them alive. And as he grabs the chain, his energy flows into it, which shocks the kidnappers. We see Engine watching him from a distance, and he's happy that Rudo is a giver who can give life to objects just like him. The leader tells his men to attack Rudo, and he thinks a giver is useless without their object. They struggle to get close to him, and one of them manages to disarm him, but he surprises them by grabbing a tire, which he turns into his weapon. Everyone's surprised seeing this because it's rare for a giver to use more than one object, and he's able to take out the man. He's about to kill their boss, but Engin suddenly stops him. The tire he was holding turns into dust, and his nose starts bleeding as Engin tells him that his powers take a toll on his body. He apologizes for testing Rudo, and Enan knows that he has a lot of questions, so he promises to tell him everything. But in exchange, he must join their group of cleaners and fight monsters, but Rudo declines his offer. Engin takes Rudo to a clinic, and he calls his friend to tell him about recruiting Rudo, who he believes is a natural talent, but Rudo notes that he isn't ready to join them. As they leave the clinic, Rudo thanks Engin for paying his bill and notes that he needs information, but he has no time to join their group. Engin reminds him how the people in their world view the Spherites and notes that information isn't free, so he should just shut up and follow him. Engin takes Rudo to the city and treats him to a burger, which surprises him because he thought there would only be trash in the pit. Engine explains that garbage isn't the only thing that builds up on the ground, because emotions also build up, which converts into energy, and it's the reason why the trash beasts exist. He reveals that they mostly stay in the garbage dumps, but they sometimes attack the city, and regular weapons don't work on them, but his gloves can beat them, because they also have a notes that when an object is treated with care for a long time, anime inhabits it, and they call these objects vital instruments. He tells Rudo that their organization needs more givers to fight the trash beasts. So Rudo wonders if in exchange for joining their group, Engine will teach him how to return to the surface. So he reveals that he doesn't know how to do that, but notes that his boss is a wise man who might be able to help him. Engine suddenly gets a message, so he decides to leave, but Rudo thanks him for everything, and Engine gives him a small bag of money to help him survive. Engine tells Rudo to wait there while he talks to his trainer, but a cat suddenly grabs his pouch and runs away. So Rud tries to catch it and realizes that it's much faster than him, but he notices a stick, so he quickly grabs it to pin down the cat. A man named Zanka arrives, telling Rud that the stick belongs to him, and he forcefully takes it back. R notices the cleaner symbol and realizes he's also a cleaner like Angin, but Zanka activates his power to teach R a lesson. His attack narrowly misses Rudo, and he mentions that Engin put him in charge of his training, but he never thought his student would be a thief. Rudo explains that he was borrowing the stick to get his money back, but Zanka taunts him about how his father couldn't teach him basic manners, which pisses him off. But he remembers how Regto told him to stay calm and listen to the other person, so he apologizes for taking Zanka's precious treasure. Zona helps him get up and asks about his vital instrument. So Rudo tells him it's probably his gloves. Zanka examines his gloves and he thinks they're cool. So Rudo also wants to be friendly, and he remembers how Regto told him to smile. So he tries to show his happy side, but Zanka is creeped out by his odd expressions and thinks R is making fun of him. Zanka thinks Rudo is just overconfident because Engine called him a genius, but he reminds him that they're always putting their lives on the line. He thinks R doesn't even look serious when he talks about his goal, so it must be a foolish one. But Ruto remembers how Reito told him to change the world, and his mood suddenly changes. He tells Zanka that he's serious about his goal, so he should never make fun of it. But Zanka notes that he knew they wouldn't get along, and he pulls out his weapon. Rudd also grabs a rod behind him, and Zanka is shocked that he can make any object his vital instrument, thinking it's the reason why Angin called him a genius. But Zanka tells Rudo that his natural talent won't help him defeat someone more experienced. Zanka grabs his staff and charges at him, so he's forced to defend himself. Rudo struggles to keep up with him, and he gets pinned to the ground, but Zanka smells the dirt that fell on him, and he suddenly freaks out. He notices that Rudo is holding a plunger, but Rudo can't understand why he's reacting that way. So Zanka starts running away. Rudd doesn't understand why he's so scared, but he chases after him and he manages to cover him with poop. Engine arrives and he thinks they've already become friends, but as they get in his car and discuss what happened, he bursts out laughing, and Zanka can't believe he was humiliated. Engine tells Rudo that Zanka is a spoiled kid, and he never expected someone to throw poop at him. But Zanka is still the most skilled giver in their group, so Rudo will learn a lot from him. Enen suddenly asks a girl named Rio when she got there, so she mentions that she was just curious to meet Rudo. Engine drives them to the cleaner's headquarters,